Commander Hanna pressed her face against the cold glass window of the human ship called Rising Dawn. The massive alien fortress spun slowly in front of them like a giant metal spider floating in space. It was bigger than 3 human cities put together and covered in weapons that could destroy entire planets. The fortress belonged to the bug-like aliens called Catherians, who had been fighting humans for 3 long years. Hanna was only 32 years old, but she had already become the most famous human commander in the galaxy. She had fought the bug aliens across 12 different star systems and won every single battle. The aliens were scary creatures that looked like giant insects with sharp claws and multiple eyes, but Hanna had learned how to beat them every time she studied everything about them, including how they talked, how they fought, and most importantly, how they thought. The war had been terrible for both sides. Millions of humans had died, and entire planets had been turned into battlefields. The Catherians were just as hurt, with many of their hive worlds destroyed by human weapons. Everyone was tired of fighting, which is why the alien leaders had asked for peace talks. They specifically wanted Hanna to come because they respected her skills as a warrior captain. Dongwu walked up to Hanna holding a datapad with information about the alien fortress. He was her second in command and had served with her for 2 years fighting the bug creatures. Dongwu was a careful man who always checked everything twice before making decisions. Hanna trusted him more than anyone else in her crew. "The fortress is almost empty of life signs," Dongwu said quietly. "Only showing about 100 aliens when it should have thousands." Hanna looked at the data and frowned. Something was definitely wrong. The fortress was called Deathbringer and normally held over 10,000 Catherian warriors, plus all their weapons and equipment. Why would they empty their biggest fortress just for peace talks? Hanna asked herself out loud. Maybe they moved everyone out to show good faith, Dongwu suggested, but his voice sounded worried too. Hanna shook her head. The aliens never did anything without a reason, and leaving their fortress nearly empty seemed very strange. Dr. Minho joined them at the window, carrying his medical equipment. He was the team doctor and expert on alien biology. Minho had spent years studying how different alien species worked, and he knew more about Catherian bodies than almost any human. He was nervous about the mission because peace talks could go wrong very quickly. Lieutenant Yoon-ji sat at her communication station listening to alien radio chatter. She was young, but very good at understanding different alien languages. The Catherians used clicking sounds and chemical smells to talk to each other, which made them hard to understand. Yoon-ji had learned their language by listening to captured enemy communications. During battles, Sergeant Bo-Ram checked her weapons for the 10th time that day. She was the team security officer and responsible for keeping everyone safe. Bo-Ram had fought the bug aliens in hand-to-hand combat and knew how dangerous they could be. Even during peace talks, she wanted to be ready for trouble. Her rifle was loaded with special bullets designed to pierce Catherian armor. The shuttle bay doors opened and their small transport ship was ready to take them to the alien fortress. Hanna looked at her team of 4 people. They were going into a fortress that could hold thousands of enemy soldiers with only basic weapons and no backup. If something went wrong, they would be completely on their own. Hanna had a bad feeling in her stomach, but she could not show fear in front of her team. The peace talks were too important to cancel because of worry. If there was even a small chance to end the war, she had to try. Millions of human lives depended on these negotiations working. Team walked to their shuttle, which was much smaller than the alien fortress. Their ship looked like a tiny bug next to the massive enemy structure. Hanna sat in the pilot seat while her team prepared their equipment. Dr. Minho double-checked his medical scanner. Yoon-ji tested her translation device, and Bo-Ram made sure her weapons were hidden, but easy to reach as they flew toward the fortress. Hanna noticed that the alien weapons were tracking their movement. The huge guns followed their shuttle like eyes watching prey. This was normal during wartime, but seemed strange for peace talks. The Catherians had invited them here, so why were their weapons still active? The fortress was even more impressive up close. It had thousands of weapons, pointing in every direction, and armor thick enough to stop planet-killing bombs. The aliens had built it to be completely impossible to destroy from the outside. Hanna wondered if it could be destroyed from the inside, but pushed that thought away. They were here for peace, not war. Their shuttle entered the fortress through a docking bay that was big enough to hold 50 human ships. The walls were covered in sharp metal spikes, and the air smelled like chemicals. The lighting was dim and red, which is how the bug aliens liked it. Han-Na felt like they were flying into the mouth of a giant monster general. Vextar was waiting for them in the docking bay, with a group of Catherian warriors. He was bigger than most of his kind, with shiny, black armor covering his insect body. His multiple eyes reflected the shuttle lights, and his sharp claws clicked against the metal floor. The sound echoed through the huge space like drums. "Welcome to Deathbringer Fortress," General Vextar said in perfect human language. His voice came through a translation device because Catherian mouths could not make human sounds. "We are honored to have the famous Commander Han-Na visit our home." The way he said famous sounded like he was making fun of her, but Han-Na kept her face calm. The Catherian warriors behind the general were making clicking sounds with their claws against their armor. Han-Na recognized this as a war rhythm, not the peaceful greeting sounds she had studied. It was like they were getting ready for battle instead of peace talks. This made her even more worried about the situation. Han-Na and her team followed General Vextar through the fortress corridors. The walls were covered in pictures of Catherian victories over human forces, and the floor was made of some kind of black metal that felt cold even through their boots. The ceiling was very high because the bug aliens were much bigger than humans. They passed many rooms filled with advanced alien technology and weapons that Han-Na had never seen before. Some of the machines were making strange humming sounds, and others had lights that pulsed like heartbeats. The fortress was clearly much more advanced than anything humans had built. Finally, they reached a huge dining hall with tables set for both humans and aliens. The room was decorated with banners showing Catherian military symbols, and the air was filled with the smell of alien food. Han-Na noticed that everything was separated between human and alien sections, like they did not trust each other. Even during a meal, General Vextar gestured for them to sit at a table covered with human food that looked normal. Dr. Minho quietly scanned everything with his medical device and nodded that it seemed safe to eat. The alien general sat across from them with several other high-ranking Catherian officers. "Now we shall begin our peace celebration," General Vextar announced as alien servants brought out glasses filled with purple liquid. "This is a traditional Catherian drink to honor important guests and seal our friendship." Han-Na looked at the glass, knowing that refusing to drink would be a deadly insult to alien customs. Dr. Minho scanned the liquid quickly, and his device showed it was safe to drink. Han-Na picked up her glass and looked at the alien general, who was watching her with all of his multiple eyes. The other Catherian warriors had stopped clicking, and the room became completely silent. "To peace between our species," Han-Na said, and drank the purple liquid. It tasted bitter like metal and burned her throat as it went down. Her team also drank from their glasses and tried not to make faces at the terrible taste. General Vextar smiled with his sharp teeth showing. Poison worked faster than Han-Na expected. Within minutes, she felt dizzy and her vision started to blur. Dr. Minho collapsed, first falling from his chair to the floor. Yunji tried to stand but fell down too, and Boram could not reach for her weapons because her arms would not work. "You humans are so easy to trick." General Vextar laughed as Han-Na struggled to stay conscious. "Your famous commander will die slowly while we show her suffering to all human worlds. Your people will surrender rather than watch their hero die in pain." Han-Na felt her legs give out as the alien poison spread through her body, but she smiled because the aliens had made one big mistake. They thought she was just like other humans. But Han-Na had been preparing for this moment for a very long time. The real battle was just beginning. Han-Na lay on the cold metal floor pretending to be paralyzed while the alien poison burned through her veins. The Catherian warriors were clicking their claws together in victory sounds, while General Vextar stood over her with his multiple eyes gleaming in the red light. She could feel the toxin trying to shut down her nervous system, but her body was fighting back in ways the aliens could never expect. For 3 years, Han-Na had been secretly preparing for this exact moment. During every battle with the Catherians, she had collected samples of their biological weapons and poisons. Dr. Minho had helped her build immunity by injecting tiny amounts into her bloodstream over many months. It was extremely dangerous and could have killed her, but Han-Na knew the aliens would eventually try to poison her. The process had been painful beyond imagination. Each injection felt like liquid fire spreading through her body, and sometimes she would be sick for days. But slowly, her immune system learned to recognize and fight the alien toxins. Her liver and kidneys became stronger at processing foreign chemicals, and her blood developed special proteins that could neutralize most Catherian poisons. Hanna had studied the aliens more than any other human commander. She learned their language by listening to captured communications and understood their culture by watching how they behaved in battle. The Catherians believed that honor came from defeating enemies through cleverness, rather than just strength. This is why they chose poison instead of simply shooting her. General Vextar kicked Hanna in the side to see if she was still conscious. She forced herself not to react, even though it hurt. The alien general was testing whether the poison had worked completely. He wanted her to be aware of what was happening but unable to move or speak. This type of toxin was designed to cause maximum psychological torture. The Catherian warriors dragged Dr. Min-Ho Lieutenant Yoon-ji and Sergeant Boram away to holding cells deeper in the fortress. Han-na watched through barely open eyes as her team was taken away. They were all unconscious from the poison and would probably stay that way for hours. The aliens had given them a different toxin that was meant to keep them asleep. Four Catherian soldiers grabbed Han-na by her arms and legs to carry her through the fortress corridors. She let her body hang limp, like she was completely paralyzed while memorizing every detail of their route. The aliens were taking her toward the command center, which was exactly where she wanted to go. The fortress was even bigger inside than it looked from outside. The corridors stretched for kilometers in every direction with thousands of rooms containing weapons, equipment, and sleeping quarters for alien soldiers. Hanna counted guard posts and weapon placements while pretending to be unconscious. She also noted structural weak points where explosions could cause the most damage. General Vextar walked beside the soldiers carrying Hanna and talked about his plans for destroying human colonies. He wanted her to hear everything, so she would suffer more before dying. The alien general explained how the fortress weapons could turn entire planets into ash and how he planned to broadcast her death across human space to break their will to fight. Hanna felt the poison reaching its peak, strength in her bloodstream. Her vision became blurry and her muscles felt weak, but she could still think clearly. The aliens had designed their toxin to attack the nervous system, but they did not understand how human immunity worked. Her body was already starting to break down the poison molecules. The command center was a massive room filled with alien technology and hundreds of Catherian technicians working at control stations. The main display showed tactical information about human fleet movements and colony locations. General Vextar ordered his soldiers to strap Hanna into a chair facing the biggest screen so she could watch the attack on human worlds. "Now you will see the end of your pathetic species," General Vextar announced, while his technicians prepared the fortress weapons. "The first target will be the human colony on Kepler 7 with its 2 million inhabitants. You will watch them die knowing that your failure caused their destruction." Hanna was strapped into a metal chair with restraints on her arms and legs. But the aliens had made a crucial mistake. They assumed she would remain paralyzed for hours and did not use their strongest restraints. The chair was designed to hold a conscious prisoner, not someone who might break free. The fortress weapons began charging with a deep humming sound that vibrated. Through the entire structure, each weapon was larger than a human battleship and capable of destroying cities with a single shot. The Catherians had enough firepower to eliminate every human colony in this sector of space. General Vextar stood in front of the main tactical display giving orders to his weapons officers. The aliens were so confident in their victory that most of the guards had left the command center to prepare for the attack. Only a few soldiers remained to watch over what they thought was a dying human commander. Hanna could feel her strength starting to return as her immune system neutralized more of the poison. Her enhanced metabolism was working faster than the aliens had calculated. The toxin that should have kept her paralyzed for 6 hours was already breaking down after only 2 hours. She tested her fingers carefully to see how much movement she had recovered. The restraints were loose enough that she could work her hands free if she had enough strength. Her legs were still mostly numb, but her arms were getting stronger every minute. The command center computers required biometric access from high-ranking Catherians, but Han-Na had been watching General Vex-Tar input his security codes. Earlier, during their meeting, she had memorized the pattern of his claw movements on the control interface. Her photographic memory allowed her to remember every detail. Han-Na had also spent months studying captured Catherian technology with human scientists in the Yao. Alien systems were more advanced than human computers, but they followed logical patterns that could be understood. Their security was strong against outside attacks, but vulnerable to someone with proper access codes. General Vex-Tar was so focused on targeting human colonies that he did not notice Han-Na testing her restraints. The alien general wanted to savor his victory by personally selecting each target and calculating the maximum psychological impact on human survivors. The fortress weapons were almost finished charging and would be ready to fire within minutes. Once the attack began, there would be no way to stop it. The Catherians planned to destroy one human world every hour until the entire species surrendered or went extinct. Han-Na knew she had only one chance to turn the situation around. The poison was still affecting her coordination and strength, but she was recovering faster than the aliens expected. Her years of preparation were about to be tested in the most important battle of her life. She waited until most of the Catherian technicians were focused on their weapon systems and the few remaining guards were watching the tactical display instead of watching her. This was the moment she had trained for during countless hours of combat practice and tactical simulation. Han-Na took a deep breath and began working her right hand free from the loose restraint. The metal binding slipped off her wrist easier than expected because the aliens had not tightened it properly. They really believed she would remain helpless until the poison killed her. Her hand was free, but she kept it in position so the guards would not notice. She flexed her fingers to get feeling back while her body continued fighting off the remaining toxin. Every second that passed made her stronger and brought her closer to being able to act. The fortress weapons reached full charge, and General Vex-Tar raised his claw to give the firing command. The first human colony was about to be destroyed, and billions more would follow unless Han-Na could stop the attack. She gathered all her remaining strength and prepared to show the aliens what humans were really capable of. The time for deception was almost over, and the real battle was about to begin. General Vex-Tar had made the mistake of bringing her to the one place in the fortress where she could do the most damage. The command center controlled everything, and soon it would belong to her. The first human battleship to dock with the captured fortress was the Starfire, commanded by Admiral Young-Ho, who had been Han-Na mentor during her early military training. He brought 3,000 soldiers and enough firepower to destroy a small planet, but found that Han-Na had already won the battle. Single-handedly, Admiral Young-Ho entered the command center with a squad of elite Marines, expecting to find Han-Na fighting for her life against alien soldiers. Instead, he discovered her sitting calmly in the fortress control chair, with dozens of Catherian prisoners kneeling nearby under guard by automated defense turrets. "Commander Han-Na, report," Admiral Young-Ho said with amazement in his voice. "How did you manage to capture the entire Deathbringer fortress with only 4 people?" Han-Na stood up from the control chair and saluted her former teacher. Though she was smiling at his shocked expression, the aliens made several critical mistakes, Sir. Han-Na explained while gesturing at the tactical displays showing the trapped Catherian forces throughout the fortress. "They assumed their poison would work on me, but I had been building immunity for 3 years. They brought me to their command center thinking I was helpless, and they underestimated human intelligence." Admiral Young-Ho looked at the displays showing thousands of alien soldiers locked in separate compartments throughout the massive structure. The fortress weapons were aimed at the Catherian fleet outside, keeping them from escaping or launching any rescue attempts. The aliens had become prisoners in their own stronghold. "What about your team?" the Admiral asked with concern. Han-Na led him through the fortress corridors toward the holding cells, where her people were being kept. The automated systems had already unlocked the doors, and medical teams were treating Dr. Min-Ho, Lieutenant Yoon-ji, and Sergeant Bo-Ram. Dr. Min-Ho was the first to wake up from the alien poison that had kept him unconscious. For hours he looked around confused until he saw Han-Na standing over his medical bed. Then his eyes went wide as he realized they were still alive and apparently safe. "Commander." "What happened?" Min-Ho asked weakly. "The last thing I remember was drinking. That purple liquid, and then everything went black. Did the aliens capture us? Han-Na smiled and helped her team doctor sit up while explaining how she had turned the tables on their enemies. The poison they gave us was designed to paralyze and kill humans, Han-Na explained. But I had been preparing for this possibility by building immunity to their biological weapons. You helped me with the injections, remember? The aliens thought they had won, but they actually gave me the perfect opportunity to strike back. Lieutenant Yunji and Sergeant Boram also recovered quickly once the alien toxin worked its way out of their systems. They were amazed to learn that Han-Na had captured the entire fortress while they were unconscious. The team had expected to die as prisoners, but instead found themselves as heroes of the greatest victory in human military history. The fortress holding cells contained more than just Han-Na team. There were dozens of human prisoners who had been captured during previous battles. The Catherians had been keeping them alive for interrogation and torture, but now they were all free. Thanks to Han-Na actions, one of the rescued prisoners was Captain Yunji, who had been shot down 6 months earlier during the Battle of Proxima Station. She had been held in the fortress dungeons and tortured for information about human fleet movements. The aliens had broken several of her bones, but not her spirit. Commander Han-Na, Captain Yunji said with tears in her eyes, I never thought I would see another human again. The aliens told us that humanity was losing the war, and that we would all die in their prison cells. Thank you for proving them wrong. Han-Na helped Captain Yunji to the medical bay where human doctors were treating all the rescued prisoners. The fortress had excellent medical facilities that the aliens had been using to keep their human captives alive for torture. Now those same facilities were being used to heal the people they had harmed. Meanwhile, Admiral Jung-ho was coordinating with the trapped Catherian forces throughout the fortress. Many of the alien soldiers were trying to negotiate surrender terms, while others were still attempting to break free from their locked compartments. The fortress was simply too well designed for anyone to escape. The alien fleet outside the fortress was also trying to find a way to rescue their comrades, but Han-Na controlled all the weapons systems. The massive fortress guns could destroy any ship that came too close, and the tractor beams prevented the alien vessels from retreating to a safe distance. High Admiral Kexran, commander of the Catherian fleet, sent a communication request to Han-Na, asking for terms of surrender. He was one of the most powerful alien leaders and had never been defeated in battle. The idea of surrendering to a single human was almost impossible for him to accept. Commander Han-Na. This is High Admiral Kexran, the alien leader transmitted. They request permission to speak with you directly about ending this standoff. My forces are trapped and yours control our most powerful fortress. What are your terms for our surrender? Han-Na accepted the communication link and spoke directly to the alien admiral using perfect Catherian language that surprised him with its fluency. She had spent years learning their speech patterns and cultural references, which gave her a significant advantage in negotiations. High Admiral Kexran, I am willing to accept your surrender, but only under specific conditions. Han-Na replied in the alien clicking language. First, all Catherian forces must cease hostile actions against human targets immediately. Second, you must release all human prisoners held throughout your territory. The alien admiral was quiet for several minutes while he consulted with other Catherian leaders. The fortress had been their greatest military asset, and losing it to a single human was a devastating blow to their war effort. They could continue fighting, but without their main stronghold they would eventually lose. What assurance do we have that humans will honor any agreement? Kexran finally asked. We have been at war for 3 years, and both sides have committed terrible acts. How do we know you will not simply execute us after we surrender? Han-Na had expected this question and was prepared with an answer that would appeal to the alien sense of honor. The Catherians respected strength and intelligence above all else, and she had demonstrated both by capturing their fortress. They would be more likely to trust someone who had defeated them fairly. You have my word as a warrior and commander, Han-Na replied. I defeated you through superior preparation and tactics, not through deception or cruelty. If you surrender honorably, I will treat you with the same honor. Your soldiers will be treated as prisoners of war, according to galactic conventions. The alien admiral knew he had no choice but to accept Han-Na terms. His fleet was trapped, his fortress was captured, and his soldiers were locked in their own stronghold. Any attempt to continue fighting would only result in more deaths on both sides. Very well. Commander Han-Na Hai. Admiral Kex Ran transmitted. Hereby surrender all Catherian forces under my command to human authority. We accept your terms and request that you treat our people with honor as you have promised. Han-Na accepted the surrender and immediately began coordinating with Admiral Jung-ho to process thousands of alien prisoners. The fortress would need to be secured and the Catherian fleet would need to be escorted to human territory for processing. This was the largest enemy surrender in the history of the war news of Han-Na. Victory spread throughout human space within hours. Every human colony and military base received reports of how a single commander had captured the enemy, strongest fortress, and forced their fleet to surrender. The war was effectively over and humanity had won, but Han-Na knew that winning the war was only the beginning. Now came the harder task of building peace between two species that had been trying to destroy each other. The aliens would need to learn to trust humans, and humans would need to forgive their former enemies. The greatest victory in human history had been won not through superior weapons or numbers, but through one person: determination to never give up, no matter how impossible the odds. The aliens had learned that humans were far more dangerous than they had ever imagined. Hanna felt the last effects of the alien poison leaving her system as General Vextar raised his claw to order the destruction of Kepler-7. The 2 million humans living on that peaceful colony had no idea they were about to die. The fortress, weapons hummed with deadly energy ready to turn their world into burning ash fire, General Vextar commanded. But nothing happened. He pressed the firing control again with growing anger, but the weapons remained silent. The Catherian technicians at their stations began clicking frantically as error messages appeared on their screens. Something was wrong with the fortress systems. Han-Na had slipped her other hand free from the restraints while the aliens were distracted by their weapon problems. She had been working on the command center computers through a hidden interface built into her chair. The aliens thought it was just a torture device, but Han-Na had recognized it as a maintenance access point. During her years of studying Catherian technology, Han-Na had learned that their systems were designed with multiple redundancies and safety protocols. The aliens built their fortresses to be nearly impossible to destroy from outside, but they had not considered the threat of someone taking control from within. The fortress computer systems were incredibly complex, but they followed logical patterns that Han-Na could understand. She had memorized General Vextar's security codes and used them to access the main control network. The aliens had given her the perfect position to hack into every system in the massive structure. "What is happening?" General Vextar screamed at his technicians who were desperately trying to restore weapon control. The error messages kept multiplying across their screens and more systems began shutting down throughout the fortress. Emergency lights started flashing and alarm sounds echoed through the corridors. Han-Na quietly freed her legs from the restraints while continuing to send commands. Through the hidden interface, she activated lockdown protocols that sealed blast doors throughout the fortress, trapping thousands of Catherian soldiers in separate sections. The aliens found themselves cut off from each other and unable to coordinate. Any response, the fortress defense systems were Han-Na's next target. She reprogrammed the automated turrets and security drones to recognize Catherian life signs as hostile threats instead of friendly forces. The aliens had built these systems to protect against human invasion, but now they were being used against their own creators. General Vextar finally realized that someone was sabotaging his fortress from inside the command center. He spun around to check on his human prisoner and saw Han-Na standing behind him with her hands on the main control interface. His multiple eyes went wide with shock and rage. "Impossible," the alien general hissed through his translator. "You should be dead from the poison. How are you still alive?" Han-Na smiled coldly as she continued entering commands into the fortress computer systems. The aliens had made the fatal mistake of underestimating human adaptability and determination. "You made one error," Han-Na replied while activating more security protocols. "You assumed humans were weak because we prefer peace to war. But we have survived every threat this galaxy has thrown at us, including your poison." The command center blast doors began sealing as Han-Na took complete control of the fortress. The Catherian guards in the command center rushed toward Hanna with their claws extended, but automated defense turrets dropped from the ceiling and opened fire. The aliens had built these systems to protect the command center from enemy soldiers, but now they were protecting Hanna from the aliens. General Vextar tried to reach his personal communication device to call for help, but Hanna had already cut off all internal communications throughout the fortress. The alien soldiers, trapped in different sections, could not coordinate with each other or even know what was happening. Emergency bulkheads slammed shut, dividing the fortress into hundreds of isolated compartments. The Catherian warriors found themselves locked in rooms with no way to escape or communicate. Hanna had turned their own advanced security systems against them, using their own protocols and procedures. The fortress weapons that had been aimed at human colonies began turning toward Catherian ships in the surrounding space. The alien fleet commanders watched in horror as their own fortress targeted them with enough firepower to destroy entire planets. They tried to retreat, but Hanna activated tractor beams to hold them in place. "You cannot control our fortress," General Vextar shouted as he backed away from the advancing defense turrets. "This is impossible for a primitive human to understand." Hanna continued working at the control interface while keeping one eye on the tactical displays, showing Catherian forces throughout the structure. "Your technology is impressive," Hanna admitted, "but it follows predictable patterns. I spent 3 years studying every piece of Catherian equipment we captured in battle. Your systems are logical and efficient, which makes them easy to reprogram once you understand the basic principles." The fortress began broadcasting on all human communication frequencies, sending out Hanna emergency signal. Human ships throughout the sector received her message explaining that she had captured the Deathbringer fortress and needed immediate reinforcement. The cavalry was finally coming. Internal sensors showed Catherian soldiers trying to break through the sealed blast doors using their personal weapons, but the barriers were designed to withstand direct hits from battleship cannons. The aliens were trapped in their own impenetrable fortress with no way to escape. Hanna activated the fortress manufacturing systems and began producing human-compatible equipment. The alien factories started making weapons, ammunition, and communication devices that her rescue team could use when they arrived. The fortress that had been built to destroy humanity was now working to save it. General Vextar made one final desperate attempt to stop Hanna by charging directly at her, but the command center defense systems responded instantly. Multiple laser turrets fired simultaneously, turning the alien general into ash before he could take 3 steps. The fortress had become Hanna's personal weapon. The remaining Catherian technicians in the command center surrendered by dropping their weapons and clicking their claws in the pattern that meant defeat. Hanna accepted their surrender, but kept them under guard using the same automated systems that had eliminated their general. Through the fortress communication systems, Hanna could hear thousands of alien soldiers throughout the structure, trying to break free from their trapped compartments. Some were using explosives, but the blast doors were too strong. Others were trying to cut through walls, but the fortress armor was nearly indestructible. The fortress weapons completed their targeting sequence, and Hanna found herself in control of enough firepower to destroy the entire Catherian fleet surrounding the structure. She could end the war right now by wiping out every alien ship in the system, but that would make her no better than the enemies she was fighting. Instead, Hanna used the fortress communication systems to broadcast a message to every Catherian ship in the area. She spoke in their own language using the clicking sounds and chemical signals she had learned during her years of study. The aliens listened in shock as their greatest enemy offered them terms of surrender. "This is Commander Hanna of the human forces," Hanna announced to the alien fleet. "I now control your Deathbringer fortress and all its weapons. Your soldiers are trapped inside and your ships are held by tractor beams. You have one choice: surrender now or watch me use your own weapons against you." The Catherian fleet commanders knew they had no other option. Their fortress had been turned against them by a single human who had outsmarted their entire military leadership. They began transmitting surrender signals while Hanna prepared for the arrival of human reinforcements. The first human ships appeared on the fortress sensors within hours of Hanna's distress signal. The rescue fleet included battleships, cruisers, and troop transports carrying thousands of human soldiers ready to fight their way into the alien fortress. If necessary, Hanna opened the fortress docking bays and welcomed her fellow humans aboard the captured structure. The soldiers could hardly believe that she had taken control of the entire fortress by herself, using nothing but preparation, intelligence, and determination. The war was about to end, not through massive battles or destruction, but because one human had proven that aliens were not superior to humanity. The Catherians had learned that humans might prefer peace, but they would never surrender to anyone. 3 days after the surrender of the Catherian fleet, Han-Na stood in the main conference room of the captured Deathbringer fortress, facing the most important peace negotiations in galactic history. Representatives from both human and alien governments had arrived to witness the formal end of the 3-year war that had cost millions of lives. President Somin of the Human Colonial Alliance sat across from Supreme Hive Queen Zarvex, the ultimate leader of all Catherian forces. The Alien Queen was twice the size of her soldiers with golden armor, covering her massive insect body. Her presence made even the bravest human diplomats nervous. But Han-Na had requested to speak with her directly, Your Majesty. Han-Na said, using the formal Catherian greeting she had learned during her years of study. I captured your fortress not to humiliate your people, but to prove that both our species are capable of great things when we stop trying to destroy each other. The war must end, so we can build something better. Supreme Hive Queen Zarvex studied Han-Na with her compound eyes that reflected light like jewels. The alien queen had ruled her people for over 2 centuries and had never met a human who spoke her language so perfectly. She clicked, her claws in what Han-Na recognized as a gesture of respect. Commander Han-Na, you have accomplished something that no warrior in Catherian history has ever achieved. The queen replied through her translator. You captured our strongest fortress with only your intelligence and determination. This proves that humans possess qualities we had not recognized before. The peace negotiations continued for hours as diplomats from both sides worked out the complex details of ending the war. Human colonies that had been attacked would receive compensation, and Catherian prisoners would be returned to their families. Both species would establish trade agreements and cultural exchange programs. Han-Na suggested that the Deathbringer fortress become a joint facility where humans and Catherians could work together on scientific research and diplomatic projects. The massive structure had enough space for laboratories, universities, and meeting halls that could benefit both civilizations. Dr. Min-Ho was appointed as the first director of interspecies medical research, using the fortress advanced laboratories to study how human and Catherian biology could work together. His experience treating both species during the war made him the perfect choice for building cooperation in healthcare. Lieutenant Yunji became the head of the new translation department that would train diplomats from both species to communicate effectively. Her skills with alien languages would be essential for preventing misunderstandings that could lead to future conflicts. Sergeant Boram was given command of the Joint Security Force that would protect the fortress and ensure that both humans and aliens felt safe while working together. Her combat experience with Catherian warriors earned their respect and trust. Captain Yunji, who had been rescued from the alien prison, decided to stay at the fortress as a symbol of forgiveness and healing. Her willingness to work alongside her former captives inspired others from both species to put aside their hatred and focus on building peace. The fortress workshops that had once manufactured weapons of war were converted to produce tools for exploration and construction. Human and Catherian engineers worked side by side, designing new technologies that combined the best ideas from both civilizations. Within 6 months, the Deathbringer fortress had been transformed from a symbol of war into a beacon of cooperation. The research conducted there led to medical breakthroughs that saved lives, advances in space travel that opened new worlds, and communication technologies that brought species together. Han-Na was promoted to the rank of Fleet Admiral and given command of the new Interspecies Defense Force that would protect both human and Catherian territory from external threats. The aliens had shared intelligence about other hostile species in the galaxy that posed dangers to all civilized worlds. The war crimes committed by both sides during the 3-year conflict were addressed through a joint tribunal that focused on justice rather than revenge. Many soldiers from both species had done terrible things, but the goal was to learn from the past and prevent future atrocities. Supreme Hive Queen Zarvex established a new tradition, where young Cytherian warriors would serve alongside human soldiers to learn about courage, honor, and sacrifice. The aliens discovered that humans fought not just for victory, but to protect those who could not protect themselves. Human schools began teaching Cytherian history and culture, while alien hive clusters included lessons about human art, literature, and philosophy. The two species found that they had more in common than either had realized. Despite their very different biology and social structures, trade between human and Cytherian worlds flourished as each species discovered products and technologies that the other had developed. The aliens had mastered biotechnology and organic engineering, while humans excelled at electronics and mechanical systems. The fortress became a popular destination for tourists from both species who wanted to see where the war had ended and peace had begun. Guided tours explained how Hanna had captured the structure and turned it into a symbol of cooperation rather than conflict. 5 years after the surrender ceremony, Hanna married Captain Dongwu in a wedding ceremony held in the fortress main hall. Representatives from dozens of human colonies and Cytherian hive worlds attended the celebration, which featured foods, music, and traditions from both cultures. Dr. Minho served as the best man, while Queen Zarvex herself performed the Cytherian blessing ceremony that wished the Ein couple long life and many children. The wedding became a symbol of how former enemies could become family when they chose understanding over hatred. Hanna. First child was born 2 years later in the Fortress Medical Center, with both human and Cytherian doctors assisting with the delivery. The baby girl was named Heejin, which meant bright and precious in the old human language. The alien doctors were amazed by human reproduction and childbirth. The child grew up speaking both human languages and Cytherian clicking sounds, treating aliens as extended family members rather than foreign creatures. Heejin represented the future that Hanna had fought to create, where different species could live together in harmony. Admiral Hanna continued to serve as commander of the Interspecies Defense Force, protecting the growing alliance between humans and Cytherians. Her reputation spread throughout the galaxy, as other alien civilizations heard the story of how she had ended a war through courage, intelligence, and honor. The Deathbringer Fortress still orbits the same star where Hanna captured it decades ago, but now it serves as the capital of the Galactic Cooperation Council, where dozens of species work together to explore the universe and protect each other from common threats. Historians from many worlds study Hanna victory as an example of how individual determination can change the course of history. She proved that wars are not won only through superior weapons or numbers, but through the refusal to surrender even when facing impossible odds. The poison that was meant to kill Hanna had instead given her the opportunity to save both species from destroying each other. The aliens learned that humans were not weak creatures to be conquered, but dangerous opponents who became even more formidable. When cornered, Hanna's legacy lived on in the countless lives saved by the peace she had created and in the new worlds discovered through cooperation between species. The war that had begun with hatred and fear had ended with understanding and hope for a better future among the stars.